You're listening to Confessions of a Counselor podcast. Here we will talk all things mental wellness.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Confessions of a Counselor. I'm your host, Janice, and today I thought we would talk about the impact of mental health and those around us. So both from the therapeutic perspective and from the caretaking perspective. So oftentimes we talk about mental health based on the individual who's experiencing either a mental health crisis or is working within their own mental health to better themselves. And I think sometimes it's important to look at the system around those who are struggling with their mental health. So let's jump right in. When it comes to talking about mental health and mental illness, right? So those two different things. So mental health is the capacity in which I'm working with my mental health and kind of assessing what's going on. Mental illness being a diagnosis, something that is diagnosable, a condition in which I'm working within, and mental wellness, considering the whole scope of that. How do I ensure mental wellness? How do I kind of protect my own mental wellness? We want to consider how this impacts those around us, right? So 1 in 4 people in North America have some sort of diagnosis. Right? That's a lot of people. And then if you think about that, those 1 in 4 people then have families, they have friends, they have coworkers who are all being impacted by this mental illness or mental impact on someone's mental wellness. So it's not an individual thing. It's not a secluded, isolated event. It is interaction. It is moving pieces. And so when we're talking about therapy and we're talking about intervention, I think that we need to consider the impact that this is having and how many people are being affected by it. And so one of the other kind of niche conversations that I will often have in sessions with my clients is, what does it look like to care for someone who is actively taking care of their mental health and well-being because of a diagnosis? So we need to consider how do those people care for themselves as well, right? How do they care for their mental wellness? How do they care for their mental health when impacted by the decline of someone else's mental health or the risk of decline? And again, we've talked about recovery and we've talked about how we can, as individuals, cope and live happy, healthy, successful lives, including our mental illness. So that isn't a prevention thing. That isn't saying like that can't happen or that you're having a negative impact on the people that are in your life. What I am saying is this is a community that needs to come together. This is more than just your individual experience. And we need to talk about how this impacts and influences how others are showing up. In that, when I have someone who comes in and is talking about taking care of someone or being the primary support person for an individual, then we need to talk about self-care that's going to be helpful. We need to talk about boundaries. We need to talk about the ways in which we're showing up. So all the things that we talk about on this podcast and the ways in which we protect our mental health needs to apply to those who are also in a primary support role. And I think that is a conversation that's often missed, or it's not at the forefront of the mental health and mental wellness communications that happen. So I thought that I would just share some thoughts on that and share that is something that's happening and is being impacted. So I hope that kind of helps you to understand a different perspective and a different way in which we can consider the impact that we're having. Until next time, take care.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Confessions of a Counselor podcast is available anywhere you like to listen to your podcast, both on Apple and Android. New episodes will be released every Friday. If you enjoyed this podcast, please feel free to join the conversation. Leave a review or subscribe to the podcast hosted on the Anchor app. All these details can be found at janicelyons.com. Until next time, take care.